Kings and Queens. You've seen Ragost from the upcoming Edge of Eternity set and thought you have to bring this little lobster with you to your next Commander game. Whilst you're right in thinking that, if you simply jump online currently and watch the multitude of videos out there on this critter, you may not realise that they're building him wrong. I've scoured Moxfield, I've endured the videos, perused the YouTube shorts. The answer? Right in front of us in this recipe book, okay? A missing ingredient, a texture, a flavour, if you will. An ingredient that'll fire up the taste buds of your opponents. This deck will be so spicy, it should come with a bib and a side of butter. My name is Barris the Baristocrat. I cover every single card in the 99 of a deck and slap a bunch of memes into the mix. Your opponents will want to play Magic, you will just want to play MasterChef. Let's look at Ragost and see how we can do that. Before we do, I'm sorry Zach Stella, but Dominic Mayer's card art takes the cake. Ooh, look at this shiny shrimp. For a red and white mana, Ragost Deft Gastronaut is a 2/2 legendary lobster citizen. Artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types, and have 2 mana to tap it to sacrifice this artifact, gain 3 life. Essentially turns things into food tokens. It also has, for 1 mana, you can tap Ragost to sacrifice a food. Ragost deals 3 damage to each opponent, and at the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, untap Ragost. Sounds like the game plan here is to create artifacts, which then become foods, sacrifice them to Ragost, hopefully with a source of lifelink, to get 9 life back every artifact food that gets sacrificed. And then you can repeat this process as many times as your fellow patrons will allow it. Now, whilst this game plan is the general shell to build out our Captain Shrimp Boy over here, we have to come back to the missing ingredient. Okay, hot take out here, but hear me out. Most players won't want to watch you play one-person solitaire with all these infinite mana combos and infinite positions. If you build Ragost this way, some 2-card combos and infinite token generation, no. This is truly how it feels for your opponents when it is your turn. I hear you say, but Barris, how can we, if you still have not shared what the secret ingredient is? Well, it's probably best I show you a live demonstration so that you can get a hint of just exactly what we're going for here.
No one likes them at first, but they'll grow on you.
That stench. That heavenly stench. More.
There aren't any more, and there never will be.
More.
As Zoidberg has just shown it off, you heard it here first. The secret ingredient needed to properly build Ragost is not an ingredient of our own. No, it is our opponent's artifacts. There are some delicious items our opponents may play that we'd love to throw into the blender on our side of the board, just to serve it back to them as damage. Now I hear you say, how are we going to acquire such delicacies? Well, this is where we steal them, of course. We'll play a bunch of spells that temporarily steal their stuff, and once we've stolen these artifacts for our commander's disposal, they become scrumptious ingredients for Ragost to turn into food. They cast it, we cook it. That's how it's going to go. Talk about turning their stuff into food. You're going to come across different players with different types of builds. In this example, we have Spellslinger Simon in one corner, Little Timmy with his big dinosaurs in the middle, and Enchantment playing Edward in the other corner. Yes, we're seeking artifacts from their sides of the board, but regardless of what card type they have most of, we're going to look closely at whatever permanents they've placed down in front of them. We're going to stare at it, we're going to look back up, and we're going to say, yeah, I can make that into a delicious meal. Here's how. We are going to play steal spells in which we gain control of opposing creatures and other permanents temporarily. Once we've nabbed them, we're going to turn them into artifacts just naturally with Ragost's first ability. And then we're going to churn them back into damage right back at their faces. Like a chef raiding the neighbor's fridge, we're going to be making meals with what they bought. Okay, this is going to be a bracket 3 deck with some shenanigans that will essentially catch your opponents off guard, but also being a blast to pilot yourself with plenty of decisions to be made each turn. Let's have a look at the cards that will enable this, our artifact makers. And when I say artifact makers, I'm referring to Liquid Metal Coating, Liquid Metal Torque, and Mycosynth Lattice. These are our 3 artifacts that we can use to turn their permanents that we steal into artifacts, so that ultimately Ragost can turn them into foods and send them back as damage. If your opponents get angry that you keep removing their possessions, simply remind them that it's not removal, it's just meal prep. Okay, let's move on to the next section. Our steal cards. Yes, the 5-finger discount section of the deck. Why play your own creatures when your opponents can bring better ones to the table? Listen, you're not a thief, you're just resourceful. Okay, let's look at the cards that will allow us to steal their permanents best. First up, we've got 10 steal effect style cards in the deck to ensure that we get multiple goes at pickpocketing their belongings. We've got Bloody Betrayal, Vengeful Possession, and Mass Mutiny here. These cards focus on stealing their creatures for a turn, and like a raccoon at a buffet, we're stealing whatever's left out and unchecked. We've also got Sibling Rivalry, Mob Rule, and Insurrection for 4 mana, 6 mana, and 8 mana. Whilst they're a bit expensive, they allow us to gain control of either a target artifact or creature, and creating a Power Stone token. Mob Rule lets us gain all control of all creatures with either power 4 or greater, or 3 or less. And lastly, Insurrection is our most expensive card of the deck, but we untap all creatures regardless of power, gain control of them, and they have haste till end of turn. Essentially, their creatures are just groceries waiting to be bagged. Next up, we got Yuffie, Materia Hunter for 3 mana, acts as both a chump blocker and as a way to steal a non-creature artifact. Seize the Spotlight for 3 mana is a spicy sorcery card that says, hey, I'm taking a creature from each of you. If you don't want this to happen, I get to draw a card and create a treasure token for each person who said no. Phenomenal card. Treasure Nabber is a 3 mana 3/2 creature that has, whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, you gain control of it until the end of your next turn. Okay, so you also get to use it. This will put your opponents in fear of using their own artifacts for mana. They'll still get the mana. You'll then get to decide what to do with it on your turn. You could tap it for mana, sacrifice it afterward to Ragost, essentially, to deal more damage back. Or, by offering to have it return to the target player, you can use it as a political bargaining tool to make deals if that player is posing to be a threat or a problem to you. Overall, your opponents are going to feel gutted when you take their permanents with any of these steal spells. Ultimately, their cards just become items on our grocery list shop. Lastly, the final steal card, and arguably the most flavorful card of the deck. Mwah! The Chef's Kiss. If this is not in your Ragost deck, I don't care what bracket you're building him in, you're doing it wrong, okay? I need to see this card in the deck. So for 3 mana, it's an instant, gain control of a target spell that targets only a single permanent or player. You get to copy it, then reselect the targets at random for the spell and the copy. The new targets can't be you or a permanent you control. We are playing cards for value, but we're also playing them for flavor. Let's look at the next category, Artifact Recursion. There will be a bunch of stuff on our own board that we're going to junk into our own graveyard. Quite valuable artifacts sometimes that we wouldn't mind Ragost to keep cooking up so that we can keep dishing out damage. Signature dishes, if you will. Alright, let's get into some of the cards that will allow us to do this. We have 9 artifact recursion pieces in this deck. Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer, and Doretti Rocketeer Engineer. They all allow us to snag artifacts that we have discarded or sacrificed to Ragost already. Goblin Engineer is especially useful to us as he can pull out one of the key ingredients that we need from our library, such as artifacts, artifact makers, or sacrifice outlets to enable our strategy. We've got Mirror Retriever, Junk Diver, and Workshop Assistant all acting the same way, being a perfect card for Ragost to sacrifice, returning another artifact back from our graveyard. With any leftover mana, you can essentially loop these if you have at least one of them in play and one in the graveyard. Because in this house, we don't throw leftovers away. Pre-War Formalware is a 3 mana artifact equipment with a similar ability, except it gets a creature from the graveyard that is 3 mana or less out of the graveyard and attaches it to it. 15 of the 20 creatures in our deck are mana value 3 or lower, so it's a great card to have in the mix. Oswald Fiddlebender for 2 mana. He has a 1 mana ability to pull artifacts out of our library, which is a great way to get those missing pieces on the board. Ratchet Field Medic triples as a way to get artifacts from the graveyard, as a blocker, and as a source of some life gain along the way. All these cards essentially turn our graveyard into a fridge of ingredients, freshly stocked for us to choose from. Onto the 3 sacrifice outlets that we are including into the deck on top of having Ragost as our commander. Ashnod's Altar, Phyrexian Altar, and Kra Clan Ironworks. This is where we have taken our opponent's artifacts and creatures and we can sack them like a quarterback, okay? We're here to celebrate our friends' efforts to bring creatures and artifacts to the field by throwing them on our altars and into our value furnaces here. I'll now show you just exactly how they're going to feel right before the end of your turn when they think they're going to get their permanents back into play.
Pizza's here.
Woo! I just cut that.
You do and I'll gut you like a fish.
Now let's check out our card advantage choices. Again, we've got 9 cards in this category. These cards turn our card draw into more of a grocery haul. We've got Esper Sentinel, Archivist of Ogma, and Halia Guided by Light. These 3 give us steady card draw as well as some life gain in the mix. Okay, for 1 mana we have Gamble. We can search our library for a card, put it into our hand, then discard a card at random, then shuffle, hopefully hitting an artifact we don't mind recurring. Magus of the Wheel for 3 mana is a creature, 3/3, but essentially we're just going to sack it for 2 mana to draw a fresh hand. Discard our current hand, draw a fresh 7. Wheel of Fortune for 3 mana is essentially a sorcery version of this. These cards will have us drawing more cardboard than a Hallmark store on Valentine's Day. Smuggler's Share, a 3 mana enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards. Then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield under their control this turn. Great value engine there, and for 3 mana, it's an easy include. 4 mana enchantment, Trouble in Pairs. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, skip it. Great. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. So there's actually a few options to draw cards per turn there. With these 2 cards, the whole table will come together and help us draw cards like it's some sort of group project. Our last card of the category, Brass's Tunnel Grinder, is a useful card to us regardless of what side is face up. We can use it to draw and discard cards, then sack it to Ragost and rinse and repeat. Or if you want to transform it to the other side, the Discover action allows us to exile cards from the top of our library until we reveal a non-land card with mana value less than or equal to X. Then we either cast that card without paying for it or add it to our hand. Both sides of this card do wonders depending on our needs at that point in the current game. Trigger copies, that's right, double the triggers, double the calories. You might be thinking, hey everyone, Ragost here, serving up an artifact just to take 3 damage each. Your commander group won't be upset by it. No. Until you smack them each for 9 damage per artifact with your trigger doublers, like a shrimp at a cocktail wedding. Elegant, but slightly concerning in large quantities. Illusionist Braces for 2 mana, Marvin Murderous Mimic, again for 2, and Mirage Mirror for 3. Illusionist Braces, whenever an ability of an equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy it. You may choose new targets for it. Marvin Murderous Mimic, he essentially comes in and can copy Ragost's activated ability. So we can tap Marvin to trigger that as well as Ragost. And Mirage Mirror, for 2 mana, it can also become a copy of anything, not just on our side of the board, but our opponent's board as well. It can become a copy of a target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until the end of turn. You could easily be slugging the table with 9, 18, or even upwards of 27 damage in a single turn. Just know, they may come for you after that. If they do, outside of Ragost's ability to cook up a feast, we have 7 other cards that will help us gain life to make sure we don't die first. Basilisk Koloth, 1 mana equipment. Equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. Equipping anything or finding ways to give Ragost lifelink means that when we sacrifice food to him and he deals 3 damage to each, we get 9 life back. So we're going to find multiple ways of giving him lifelink just for some extra redundancy. Shadow Spear, almost an auto include at this point. It gives trample and lifelink and +1/+1, but to have that extra ability too, permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, is incredible. That's a way we can get around their pesky creatures or cards that have hexproof by allowing us to target it, make it an artifact, and then essentially steal them. We also have Felidar Umbra, a 2 mana enchantment aura. So we can enchant a creature, give it lifelink, and And for 2 mana, we can attach it to a target creature we control. It also has Totem Armor, which gives our commander some resistance. If an enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. We also have Spirit Loop, 2 mana, enchant creature you control. Whenever that creature deals damage, you gain that much life. When Spirit Loop is put into the graveyard from play, return it to our hand. Our commander is so cheap to cast, we're very happy to drop this back on the board when we bring out Ragost if he's ever removed. We have Ratchet Field Medic, Archivist of Ogma, and Halia, Guided by Light. We've seen these 3 cards already in our Artifact Recursion and Card Advantage sections. They're also solid sources of incremental life gain. That kind of life gain does actually stack up over the course of a game. We can't have a food deck without life gain. These cards are our digestive system, helping us turn a chaotic board into states of comfort food. Right? Let's talk about some ramp. Now I know what you're thinking, mana ramp in this economy? Yes please. We need to fuel the feast. Even though Ragost is a low CMC commander, we still do have 8 ramp spells in the deck. While most of our cards have a mana value of 1 to 3, we still want to be able to access those higher costed cards that are going to ruin their day. I mean, allow us to serve them delightful dishes crafted by Ragost's lobster mitts himself. Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, and Boros Signet are simply staples at this point. Don't forget these artifacts are also options to feed Ragost once they're tapped, and we can find a way to recur them at the same time. Liquid Metal Torque, also a mana source in addition to its ability that we covered earlier. Ruby Medallion will help us cast those larger CMC spells, and Chromatic Lantern for 3 mana. Lands we control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. We have Crime Novelist, 3 mana, 1/3 creature. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Crime Novelist and add 1 red mana. This will help us essentially make Ragost's ability free. Patriarch Seal and Sonic Screwdriver also provide a mana of any color and the ability to untap a creature or artifact of ours where needed, so they're quite flexible. Now, you don't just walk into a buffet without armor. Okay? These cards are here to keep our key pieces safe from removal, counterspells, and that one person that's always playing Farewell. Manifold Key, 1 mana artifact. We can untap a target artifact, but also we can spend 3 mana to make a target creature unblockable for the turn. We're not going to be swinging in too much, but the untap another target artifact is the useful text there on that card. We've covered Felidar Umbra. It is a way we can put Totem Armor on our creatures, most likely Ragost, so he has lifelink to protect him from spells. Swiftfoot Boots, again 2 mana equipment, gives Ragost or our other creatures hexproof and haste. And lastly, Ghostly Prison for 3 mana. It's an enchantment. You probably already know, creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control attacking you. We don't have a lot of blockers, so to weave this one in there will help deter at least, say, the token players or those swinging multiple creatures our way. We won't be able to stop large creatures swinging for big damage, however. Our token generators. Welcome to the Iron Chef Multiverse Edition. These cards will be spitting out tasty artifacts like it's happy hour at a food court. If it's shiny, replicates itself, or looks vaguely edible, it's going in the pot. Retrofitter Foundry for 1 mana. It's an artifact that allows us to spend 2 mana, create a 1/1 colorless server artifact. It's got a lot of modes, but our mana is generally spent elsewhere. We're just very happy to create 1/1 colorless artifact tokens. Weapons Manufacturing for 2 mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions. When this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. Academy Manufactor for 3 mana, artifact creature. It's a 1/3, but when we create a clue, food, or treasure token, we're creating 1 of each, giving us incredible ammunition to feed Ragost. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine for 3 mana artifact. This is just such an artifact for the deck. For 1 mana, we can create a food token. Whenever we sacrifice a food, create a tapped treasure token. This will just generate insane value for us. We've covered Smuggler's Share. So that 3 mana enchantment allows us to draw lots of cards, but essentially it's also going to create those treasure tokens that we've covered before. The new addition here, Canoptech Scarab Swarm, 4 mana artifact creature. It's a 1/1 with flying. This is our graveyard hate piece in the deck. When Canoptech Scarab Swarm enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. For each artifact or land exiled this way, create a 1/1 colorless insect artifact creature token with flying. Some people call it graveyard hate, we call it composting. More tokens, more trouble. Okay, Smothering Tithe, you all know it, 4 mana enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. If they don't, create a treasure token. Hopefully getting 3 treasure tokens per turn cycle. For 5 mana, Illustrious Wanderglyph. Artifact creature, it's a 2/2. He has Ascend, which can get us the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. Other artifact creatures we control get +2/+2 if we do have that City's Blessing. But the key text here, at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. These are the appetizers that lead to the full-blown banquet. Your opponents will think, oh, it's just a 1/1? No, that's a 4-course meal coming your way. Let's see some spice with these untapped cards. Manifold Key and Sonic Screwdriver. They thought we'd trigger Ragost just once per turn? Nah, that's adorable. These cards will stack also with our trigger doublers to get some insane value in the form of life gain for us and heavy damage at our opponents. We have Patriarch's Seal, as I covered earlier, but the new addition here is Unwinding Clock. For 4 mana artifact, untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. It's going to allow us to repeatedly use Ragost's activated ability. This isn't a deck anymore, this is a rotisserie of repeating value. These cards are the Gordon Ramsays of Ragost's kitchen. They will allow us to find the perfect utensils and ingredients to complete our recipes. Steel Shaper's Gift, a 1 mana sorcery. Search our library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into our hand, then shuffle. Stoneforge Mystic, essentially same kind of effect. We also have Goblin Engineer for 2 mana. It's a 1/2 creature. When it enters the battlefield, we can again search our library for an artifact card, but we put it in our graveyard this time, so shuffle up. On a next turn, we can spend a mana to sacrifice an artifact and return an artifact with a converted mana cost of 3 or less from that graveyard to the battlefield. Oswald Fiddlebender, 2 mana legendary creature. We've covered him earlier. Essentially allows us to recur, but also allows us to tutor some of those artifacts out of our library. Lastly, we have Gamble for 1 mana. It's a sorcery. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then discard a card at random and shuffle your library. We're hoping that that random card that we're discarding is an artifact so that we can recur it with our mix of artifact recursion. Our sole job is to hit Ragost with a caloric overload, using our artifacts and our opponent's permanents. Our opponents cannot complain, okay? Again, it's not theft, it's just ingredient redistribution. This is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna steal the thing, we're gonna sack the thing, we're gonna untap the chef, and we're gonna repeat it until our opponents look up at us in disgust. It's a loop so flavorful, you could be on the Food Network. Having said that, these are our options to tutor up so that we can cook up that loop. You'll need firstly a sack outlet. You'll need an artifact maker, preferably Mycosynth Lattice if you have a way to cheat it into play from your graveyard. Or if you have those, you can grab one of the untap ability cards. If you have all these already, you can just tutor for that protection card such as Ghostly Prison to disincentivize your opponents attacking you, as you won't have too many blockers in this deck. These are the cards to tutor for, because you've got plenty of steel cards and artifact recursion cards in this deck. You will be able to draw into those. Lastly, let's check out the mana base. Even the lands are here to cook, okay? Aiganjo Castle, legendary land, tap for a white, but we can also tap it and spend 1 white mana, prevent 2 damage that comes to a target legendary creature this turn. Aiganjo, Seed of the Empire, taps for a white. Essentially, we can discard it to deal 4 damage to a target attacking or blocking creature, and it costs 1 less to activate that, so we can essentially cast that for 1 white mana to trigger that ability. Shinka, the Blood-Soaked Keep, legendary land, taps for a red. You can also spend a red and tap this land to make a target legendary creature gain first strike until end of turn. We've got Maze of Ith, as we don't have many blockers. This land will allow us to untap a target attacking creature, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and by this creature this turn. We've got Needle Verge Pathway. Essentially, it's a flip land, so we've got both those options there. Valakut Awakening, again, another MDFC. We can put any number of cards from our hand to the bottom of our library, then draw that many cards +1, or simply play it for a red land. Pinnacle Monk for 5 mana. It's a creature with prowess. When Pinnacle Monk enters the battlefield, we can return a target instant or sorcery card from our graveyard to our hand. Very useful. We don't have too many instants and sorceries, but the ones we do, we'd love to see twice. And if not, throw it down as a land if you are short on your land drops. Spectator Seating in a 4-player game comes in untapped. Temple of Triumph, Scries, Elegant Parlor, Surveils for us. We've also got Plateau, Sacred Foundry, and Sacred Peaks. These 3 cards can be tutored up. We also have Clifftop Retreat and Sunbillow Verge. Clifftop Retreat comes in tapped unless we control a mountain or plains. The cards earlier gave us those keywords to have down on our board. Sunbillow Verge, same thing. Having those keywords allows us to tap that for either mana color. Inspiring Vantage, Sundown Pass, and Arid Mesa are our last non-basic lands in this deck. Inspiring Vantage and Sundown Pass come in tapped unless we control 2 or fewer or 2 or more other lands. Depending on which stage of the game you play that down, and Arid Mesa is our fetch land. We'll pay 1 life, sacrifice it, and then search our library for a tutorable mountain or plains. To round out the deck, we have 10 mountains and 9 basic plains. Before we wrap up, there's 2 cards in the sideboard that I need to mention as you go out and build this deck. For 6 mana, we have Hellkite Tyrant, an absolute spotlight hog, an overperformer in a Ragost deck if any of its effects resolve. The reason we had to take it out is because of an interaction that would happen that would push this deck into a bracket 4. And that's a combo with Mycosynth Lattice. Okay, this will mean that if you hit a player with combat damage with Hellkite Tyrant, you take every permanent of theirs, including their lands. They'll be left naked without nothing left but their life total. The other card that I had to mention is Grafted Exoskeleton. This is the stinkiest of all ingredients. It's a 4 mana artifact equipment that can give Ragost Infect. If your playgroup is okay with Infect, that's then something to consider. Otherwise, if your playgroup is not cool with it, do not include this in a deck. Infect will make a lot of people upset, and not the kind of upset that you're looking for. At the end of the day, go out there and play what you want, or steal it from someone else's board and eat it. The choice really is yours. Links to my Moxfield, Patreon, and Discord are in the video description below. I'll end with a final video clip from our boy Zoidberg. Hope you take care, get some games in, have fun.
Ah, once again, the conservative sandwich-heavy portfolio pays off for the hungry investor.